External academic achievements, all of them. Grades are the backbone to your application. If you've got really good grades, but if you don't even have the second two bubbles, it's going to be compromised. I'll be sharing a few, current examples. But students have to remember that maintain an upward trajectory. Subject selection, very, very important. Ensure that your grades, it's okay if they dip one term here and there, you don't have to go into a panic mode, but then you have to show an upward trajectory. Your SAT, ACT is going forward. All of that together makes up your data, which is the backbone to your application. When you are crafting your college list for students in grade 11 out here, data will be used to bucket them into dream, targets, and safety. It carries a good 60% weightage in the US. In the UK, it will be a good 75%. In Canada, it will be somewhere between 65 to 70. India, again, a 60%. So overall, yes, it is the biggest sort of the heaviest component. The next two bubbles that you see are voice and talent, right? What is voice and talent? Anything that some responses, some ideas out there? What does voice and talent mean? Okay, voice and talent basically means who are you besides academics? What makes up you as an individual? Where are you? Where does your interest lie? What do your teachers have to say about you? What are you communicating to admissions in your essays? Where have you challenged yourself intellectually? Everything that tells us an admission officer that why should I admit he or her to my student body? Admission officers have been very vocal with us that if we had to fill our classes only with data, we would be able to fill our classes 3 times over. And given the last 2 years, I'm sure 8 times over if that only use data. It's a voice and talent that helps distinguish you from your peers. So it's very important to understand that all these three, when put together, that's called a holistic evaluation. And it's not one over the other. I'm going to give you an example. We have a student currently, and I can't take names because we sign a privacy clause. He has the most amazing data, okay? He's got a perfect 1600 score. He's based in Chennai, a US citizen, 5 A-levels, math, further math, physics, chem and English, A-stars predicted in all, only an A in English, IGCSE, 9 subjects, A-stars in all. He has won a couple of school awards, was going towards physics. Decided at the tail end, though he was a US citizen, decided at the tail end that now let me start thinking about the process and let me start working on it. And he realized his extracurriculars really didn't have much. He, at the tail end of grade 11, started to do a research paper on orbital dynamics. He also then, set an algorithm for orbital calculator. He did a few online courses. He also helped his, MUN team set up, their tech software during the COVID. And his dreams and the dream list was of course very heavy because, he thought he's got the data. Brown, MIT, Caltech, Northwestern, Rice. What do you think the result was? He had the strongest of data. He was not successful at all of them. He was admitted to his targets and safeties. He's got Purdue, he's got UMadison, he's got Rochester, he's got Vassar, which are of course great, no doubt. But his data was fantastic. What happened? The extracurriculars didn't help distinguish him. The extracurriculars were very important. His essays, yes, I should note, his essays were fantastic, one of the best essays I've read. He wrote about challenging gender stereotype. He mentioned how quantum physics helped him understand that he didn't want to box himself to what a conventional male gender had to be. And he challenged himself. It was very reflective. It was something that left all of us with goosebumps. So he had essays, he had data, but admissions, I'm sure, would be like, what is he contributing to my student body? That passion for whether it is physics, whether it's, whatever, was not seen consistently from 9 to 12. On the other hand, I'll compare another student's case. Again, because it's pretty close to apple. This is another student from another prestigious, school in Mumbai. 35 in her ACT, top IB scores, top ACT, top ICSE scores, was awarded Math Award from school, Physics Award, was also a Tata Scholarship awardee, was a Times of India awardee. But what had this girl done? 9th standard, she had developed a code and an algorithm for an automated medicine device that will be an automated reminder to her younger brother who had learning difficulties. Then 10th once 10th was over, she developed an algorithm and a calming device, a calming headset for helping students who had, learning, again, differences. She then went ahead and also developed a device, an auto garbage sorter between wet and, dry garbage. She then volunteered for the Teach for India's, there was a education revolution, where she then had these machines installed in various buildings and communities. Now this girl had done things consistently, right? It shows depth, it shows consistency. And yes, she was admitted to Carnegie Mellon, right? So she had data, her essays were great, she had the consistency and the depth. That is what I'm trying to, make you students aware of. Versus, the other student who was a US citizen. Let's remember that. Even this girl, at least this girl was not even a US citizen, she was an Indian citizen, right? So important to remember that your data, voice and talent all have to be important. So the first example was to show you about data. The second example was to show you the importance about, extracurriculars. And one more example I'd like to share with you on the importance of essays. We had a student last year who was based in Palo Alto, that's California. Amazing student. He was of course studying the American system, 16 APs. Like that is a record-breaking, AP sort of a list. And over 4 in all his APs and, of course 5. So just for, the others who may not be aware, APs are advanced placement programs and they are scored out of 5. And he had scored a 4 in all of them. He was a competitive tennis athlete. He had been, the co-founder of the school robotics club from the 9th. Mentored students over the 4 years in various robotic competitions, led his team for robotic competitions to victory. He had also developed a math algorithm on helping farmers in India, on the bee population and all of that. He had done a lot. He had everything going for him when it came to engineering. Because engineering, you want to see hardcore, how have you got your hands in machine learning. He had also 2-3 tech internships to his profile. So he had applied his first round of colleges, was not successful. So the first round is in November and then the second round is in Jan 1st. He came to us, somewhere in the beginning of December. And that, I would want to see where is my, what happened. Everybody around me is surprised that I didn't get my colleges. So when the application came to us, one thing stood out, the red flag were the essays. The essays were basically a paragraph format of his resume and everything that was seen on his activity section. Colleges are not looking for that. Colleges are looking for something more in your essay that's not seen on the other parts of your application. So of course we reworked, the entire essay, and then the entire essay was more about how in one of the most important competitions they were about to lose, but it was that defeat that actually was his victory because he learned how to be a team player under stress. So it was fantastic. It was then all about his growth. Colleges want to see that in your essay. We applied in the regular round, and yes, he's admitted to University of Pennsylvania for mechanical engineering, which is again an Ivy League. So I'm not saying we're a magic wand. I'm not saying that just because we worked on essays, things fell in place. But yes, there were certain components that were red flags out there, and that's again something important that you students have to know, that all these 3 components have a symbiotic relationship. All 3 have to be given due importance. It's not one over the other. You have to plan all of this well ahead of time. The earlier you start planning, the stronger not only the strategic map here you'll be able to create for yourself, but you'll be able to invest that much more in fleshing quality essays out. So that's a little bit about the components of the application. That was of course the US. This is UK, which I said is pretty straightforward. One application, you apply to 5 colleges. They'll mainly look at your 10th grade and your 12th predictive. Your extracurricular does matter, but mainly for the personal statement, which is one personal statement, 4,000 characters. If you're applying to Oxford or Cambridge and you are at least aspirational about that, then you have to start and plan early, because Oxford and Cambridge have a different level of preparation that one needs to do. They are not only highly academic in terms of the tests that they will ask you to be sitting, but also their interviews are very, very academic. So this is a little bit about the UK application process. That brings me to liberal arts in India. So everybody has been hearing about the liberal arts boom in India, and all the liberal arts colleges, Ashoka, Kriya, OP Jindal, Shiv Nadar, which are doing brilliantly well. Firstly, I would just like to ask, how many of you all know what is liberal arts? How many of you all don't know what liberal arts? Let's ask the other way. Okay, fantastic. Okay. So let me just take a minute to explain what is liberal arts. Liberal arts is interdisciplinary education. Liberal arts does not mean you are studying history or geography or social sciences. Liberal arts means non-vocational streams. So what are the vocational streams? Vocational streams are those streams that gets you ready for a particular professional pathway. So business, engineering, math, law. These are four vocational streams that get you ready only for those pathways. And what is liberal arts? Everything besides that. Computer science also falls under liberal arts. Ashoka, Kriya, all offer computer science under liberal arts. Pure bio, pure chem, pure economics, pure math, they all fall under liberal arts. And liberal arts is very well sought after. Couple of industry runners and companies across the world, the CEOs are products of liberal arts. HBO, YouTube, Hewlett Packard, Alibaba, Starbucks, all the CEOs are products of liberal arts. Liberal art education makes you a well-rounded individual. Liberal art education tells students come to college, explore college level courses for the first year or the first 2 years. So you're allowed 2 years to explore college level courses in the US. In India you're allowed 1 year. Canada is again somewhere in between. And then you declare your major. They understand that 15 and 16-year-old kids may not be aware of what they want to study. And I'm sure half of the parents out here will be having the same concern. My kid is in the 10th, I still don't know what they want to study. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. Colleges say come to college. You have to do a certain set of core curricula that exposes you to a little bit of economics, philosophy, freshman writing, freshman seminars. Then you decide at the end of the second year, now what is it that you want to study? And that's a more informed way of going forward rather than going to college and saying that now I don't want to study this. And that's actually something that I forgot to cover in the UK slide. That UK is a country where you have to know what you want to study. It's very much like our conventional India scenario, because of course India is a shootout from UK. So the conventional stream in India, in our heydays where we needed to know what we wanted to study. But the new age colleges, they do not need to know. You do not need to know. Yes, you have to know an academic interest. That I am keen on psychology, or my interests are literature. And when you've gone through your IB, your 11, 12, or your A levels, or your ISC, your subject selection pretty much influences that at least, right? Because you've taken certain subjects, in those subjects which ones did you enjoy. So that is influencing your undergrad pathway, but at least in liberal arts you don't have to commit to that, right? And the Indian liberal arts colleges, they are 3-year undergrad programs, but the application process, the component is completely like the West. You will be evaluated everything from the 3 bubbles, your grades, which is your data, your extracurriculars, your essays, and another very important component to remember in India is interviews. And Menas will be covering that soon enough. But the interviews in the Indian application process are deal breakers. We've seen that even this cycle where we thought students were going to make it. In the interview, they bombed. So very important to remember that plan these interviews also, take them very seriously. Do go through 2, 3, 4 rounds of mock interviews so that you are not only not feeling intimidated, but the interview system in India is where they will try to play good cop, bad cop. They try to question you on anything that you said before, anything you submitted on an application. They'll keep questioning you. They want to know, are you sticking to it or are you getting crushed under it? So very important to remember that do not take interviews lightly. That I have my interview 2 days later, I'll brush through some simple questions. No. You will reach there and then you may just tank because of not holding your ground. And again, remember, you are competing against a huge cohort. So that is, that was a complete overview on the basic components, trends, and moving into Menas will be walking us through on the importance of a couple of the important components. So over to Menas. Thanks.